Aloha, folks. You're listening to Inside the Desert Oasis Room, episode number 20. On today's episode, we talked to Leroy Schmaltz and Bob Van Oosting, the founders of Oceanic Arts in Whittier, California. I am really excited to bring this episode to you guys. If you're a tiki person, then you know exactly who they are. They built or supplied materials to some of the most prolific tiki temples of the Polynesian Pop era. Some of those include the Islander, the Tiki Tea, the Kapukai, the Pango Pango. I could go on and on and on. If you watched Gilligan's Island, they supplied materials for that as well. They've been in business for over 60 years, and I got to see all kinds of cool stuff there. They took me into their private library. They have the storage room with artifacts and photos and all kinds of ephemera, literature, old menus, things like that they've saved over the years from all the projects they've worked on. These guys have worked with all the all-stars of the Polynesian Pop era, including Ed Chrisman, Mylan Guanco, Eli Headley, Barney West, Will Westerhaven. Again, I could go on and on and on. Thanks again for listening, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did recording it. Cheers and aloha.
Inside the Desert Oasis Room.
He didn't bring the Mai Tai, so we'll just have to get water.
I didn't. Well, normally what I do is mix drinks in my home bar while we do this.
Yeah, you got a nice home bar, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, normally that's what I do, but so I told I was at Tiki Tea last night, and I told Mike Sr. I was coming here. He sends his best, by the way.
Oh.
So he was like, "Oh, tell those guys I said hello. I haven't
Great
talked to them in a
people.
while."
We've never been there.
Oh, really?
Could you believe that?
Yep.
I can't believe that.
And we knew his father, and we helped him supply pufferfish and mattings and that for that job.
Right.
And we've never been there.
Wow. So he was like, "Yeah, those guys got to come down here." So
What he did, he called me one time and he says, "You rats never come down to see me, so I'm coming out there for a day." So he did with Greg Escalante and
he did.
and Jeff
cool.
Berry
Yeah.
and then his son, Mike Jr.
Yeah.
So they spent half a day out here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you supplied the Tiki Tea with their bamboo.
Ray,
and all
Ray,
that kind
Ray
of
back in the beginning.
Yeah, because I know that he
It was
built
all
that.
Ray,
He built that with Ray. That
Yeah.
they built it themselves. And,
That was his father.
We got to know Ray Buin in a bar that was in Orange County,
okay.
over off Orangethorpe.
What bar was that? Do you remember?
It was Palms.
The Palms is just called period.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about it, but it was
Yeah.
really nice.
The room he was in is called the Room of 1,000 lights or 100 lights or something like that. There was a whole lot of light fixtures hanging above the bar.
Yeah.
There's a big hotel behind, and then there's and it's old, and then there's they had a jungle out front with monkeys and things like that. And then they had the restaurant, which was really nice. And we were on a sales trip, and we got through early, and so we went down there and had a Mai Tai and talked to him for a couple hours.
I didn't know that he was working there, huh? I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, he'd been all over already.
That's pretty interesting. Wow, that's good stuff. Well, let me start by saying thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Where is it heard?
It's on iTunes.
iTunes, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's you can just basically search for Desert Oasis Room or Tiki or anything like that, and it should pop up on iTunes. So, and it's doing pretty good. I'm getting about 3,000 listens a month.
They pay you for putting it on there a little bit, huh?
No, actually, I don't make any money. It's just a hobby. Actually, it costs me money because I have to, every time I produce an episode, I got to drive out, and then if I got to buy booze, if we're going to be mixing drinks and all that stuff. So it makes me no money at all.
We got a customer that comes in once in a while that he did a YouTube, and he's been making very good livings.
Yeah, the YouTube you can make money off of their ads, but with podcasting, it's a little bit different.
And he came in here and spent probably an hour.
Do
But he's crazy. He's all kinds of things. Jump up and down. Oh, look at that guy.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah.
when you drink, do you have some problems about keeping on the subject and not getting to some subjects that you shouldn't be talking about?
That's a good question because it's actually open topic. So the only There's only one rule that I ask is that we just don't talk politics. So other than that, it's open topic. So we can talk about whatever you want. It doesn't have to be tiki. So, why don't we start with how did Oceanic Arts get started?
Okay, how it got started is that I met Leroy at Mount San Antonio Junior College, and he said that he actually didn't live that far away from me, and what it was is that he was carving some palm fronds. And so he said, come over and take a look, and we did. And boy, they were very, very nice, And
were you studying art there, Leroy, at Mount San?
Yes, art. I was an architectural and art student.
Okay.
They dropped architecture in my second year, and so
okay.
I stayed in the art department.
And so from the palm frond idea, we started working together and carving these things and selling them by a lot of them.
Were you carving too, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Carved a lot of them. I got a couple in my office there, but
I don't think that people know that.
Not too many. Sven knows at one time that Leroy could lay it out on a board and I could carve it, like say a lot of like masks and shields, this type of thing, I think I've done it one tiki or so, maybe two little tikis, but if Leroy could lay it out, I could carve it usually, but we got too busy. We had to start doing the business, importing and so forth, and the office business just too much, You can't carve and do that too,
Yeah.
You get all filthy dirty and your hands are mess.
And see, we actually did apartment buildings also, and
was this while you were still students at Mount Sac, or
no? I was going to. I think when we kind of started a little bit, I was going to Whittier College.
Okay.
Got out of there in '58, so in business. But we had like apartment buildings. We did most of them there on Rosemary Boulevard, and here Leroy's in there with a skip loader with a big bucket, and I'm up there with these big giant clamshells, like 3-foot clamshells. Driving rebar into the wall to hang those things on there.
Clamshells.
And here he is way down below and things like that, And so we have a lot of fun doing that, but the business became too busy for everybody to carve, What time we had up to 6 carvers at one time?
Yeah, we had quite a few. I don't know.
Yeah, different carvers.
Well, I know that Ed Chrisman is probably the most popular of the
look at the molding in front of you.
Yeah, on this table. So we're sitting at a table in the break room that has this really great molding carved around. I'm going to take a picture of this so that people can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we had the whole table made.
And so Ed Chrisman carved this?
Yes.
Carved that molding, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Did you carve it right on the table?
No.
So you carved it
on strips.
Okay, and then you guys attached it to the table. That's really, really cool. I met a guy on Facebook, Guy Wilson.
Yeah.
He just reached out to me one time because he saw a picture that I posted with you guys, and then he said, "Hey, how do you know Bob and Leroy?" And I said, "Well, I like going to Oceanic Arts. I'm a tiki guy, and and so we started exchanging messages back and forth." And he showed me pictures of some of the tikis that he carved when he was working with you guys. And
he's quite
Big Easter Island head out there. Actually, he did that.
Which one?
Big Easter Island.
Oh, that Big Easter Island head in the parking lot. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. His style is very much like, you guys have a very distinct style here. I know that you really shoot for making it as traditional as possible.
Yeah.
But it's still very distinct. I mean, you can look at something that Leroy's done or Ed Chrisman's done, and you can almost instantly identify that it's one of theirs, And Guy has that same style. Mm-hmm. So is that something that you guys...
Yeah, I've kind of been still.
You guys said, like, okay, this is kind of what we're looking for. And
I was going to say Ed Chrisman originally carved these tikis. We called them hose noses.
Oh, really?
They were big, long noses, and usually had a tongue hanging out.
Yeah.
And, they were kind of goofball. But we kind of got him into doing something more traditional.
Right.
They had a restaurant right up on Kalima and Whittier, actually it's on Whittier Boulevard in Kalima, called the Kai Kai. And Eddie did these tikis all across the parking lot, maybe 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Then he heard about us, came down there, and after that, Leroy kind of pushed him into doing things more authentic, which he's done a lot of,
Okay.
In fact, he did the one in Tahiti that primarily that's in the Intercontinental Tahara.
That's the one that was in the Book of Tiki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that Tiki still there? Do you know?
Yeah, it's still there.
It just gets smaller because it rots away.
Right.
The base did, but the guy that runs the French paper over there, he sent us pictures of it, but we had them too,
So that's interesting. So the bottom rots, And what do they do? Do they cut the rod off and then
I guess so.
So it just gets shorter and shorter. It's not
They
like
put
it's
it on concrete base now, did they?
They probably did. It's bugs get in it. The log came from up Mount Baldy.
Oh, it did.
And it's a piece of pine. Pine is nice, good fodder for mushrooms and bugs. So
So that's a piece of pine. So that's not a big palm log.
No.
So what? They came from Mount Baldy. That's interesting. Did you guys? Was that just like a piece of like a tree that fell over?
No, we just took a chainsaw up there, 2-man chainsaw.
Did you really? And you just cut it down?
Well, actually, we contacted the forest department, as I recall, and they said, well, we could show you some place you could pick them up,
Okay.
And so we did it, and that thing was 5.5 tons. It was 20 foot tall and 5.5 foot diameter. And it was one of the funny things that happened. Ed was carved it in front of our shop on Philadelphia Street, and we had to roll it over. So he put PVs in there to, punch them in there so he could put rope on the PVs. So he attached to the front of his what do you call that thing? Like, it's a big old Cadillac, And so he attached to the front bumpers this rope.
We call it the big pot chew.
Huh?
They call it the big pot chew.
Big pot chew, yeah. And so he really revved the whole thing, and the tiki didn't move, but the bumper came off.
Then he did have it one time where one of those logs began to roll, and it just kept rolling into his car.
So how many of those big ones like that do you carve?
We carved smaller ones for the job. Whereas that was the New Guinea one also, huh?
Yeah, most of the.
We've done quite a few, like for the tikis.
I saw a picture that had a bunch of big ones. Well, I don't remember where I saw it. I don't know if it was in the book of tiki, but there was a picture with a bunch of big tikis that were all laid out in a big, like open area parking lot or something.
That was ours.
We did 35 of them per job. Yeah.
Wow.
For in Canada,
In Canada, where did those go?
It was Canada to a Polynesian restaurant. But actually, what happened is we worked with this Robert H. Carter, Cargoes by Carter, who had been in the business since the 40s, selling tapa cloth to Don Beach and Victor Bergeron. And so we saw him. What happened, I went to my aunt's funeral there out of Rose Hills. Down there, and I saw this big guy kind of hunched over with the little old ads from Samoa, And so I told Leroy about it. I said, well, let's go down and see him. So he did. So we ended up carving a lot of things for him. Yeah. And when he moved to Westwood, then we split, had our own business. Split off.
We stayed in the same building that he was in. It was a walnut barn on Pioneer Boulevard, which is now in the middle of the 605 freeway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
and that's on our website too, by the way. The 3 places we've been.
Okay.
And we had that leased when Carter left for Westwood. We leased the whole thing, and we had some funny things on it about they had horses in the back. So Leroy and I got a selling torch and cut all the steel things out, dividers out. And so then he said, hey, we could carve some of the floorboards, big, 2 inch thick at least. And so we carved these things, and beautiful designs Leroy had carved in there. And then we started smelling them, and all those horse piss had got in there. It was bad. And so what happened is we bleached it, we washed it, we soaked it.
I was going to say, I hope you didn't lose all this carving.
Everything you can. And so it went down to the, what's the name, restaurant on Sunset Boulevard, and we sold those planks to this guy. And was on Sunset or something like that.
Sunset, right, not too far from Hollywood and Vine.
And so we were in there, one day we were down in Los Angeles, and so it was before noon, about 11:30, and so we kind of opened the doors real small, because you couldn't see anybody in there, but they're there. So we kind of opened the doors. I told Leroy, we've got to get the heck out of here when they find out who we are.
Did they ever complain to you about that?
No, they went out of business.
Oh, okay.
They were a mafia-connected business.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and evidently something caught up to the laws and the rules, and they couldn't be in that business.
Wow, well, those are the wrong guys to find out that they got some horse-pissed carvings.
We tried to get that out of there, though.
Would you say that that's the most interesting job that you did?
Well, depending on interesting. No, not really. No, that was just a start.
What would you say is the most interesting?
Leroy, you got
the most memorable?
I don't know. Every now and then everything dashes at one point or another to something that was unique here and unique there. And I can't think of,
The Polynesian Village Hotel we had a lot of people from Disney out there, and then architects too, which worked for them. And that was very nice because it's interesting. They would come out, and we'd end up having a party with ribs and white ties and that.
Right.
And they get kind of wild. The first time they get out of the big city,
Yeah.
And
they like to use we didn't have a bathroom at our place, so everybody liked to pee in the bushes.
Yeah.
And all, Stephen Crane to all these architects, everything else, and they
Wow.
and
they eucalyptus trees out around there. Yeah,
eucalyptus trees.
And that was the old horse barn where the horses went out to out to walking.
And,
that was.
And they liked because we were working outdoors and we had our shirts off and everything. So these guys all do that too. They come out from the Beverly Hills, having their suits, and also their shirts
Take
are
all the
coming
shirts.
off.
Yeah, take the clothes off. Right.
Acting like we were. And but it. When we were working on the Disney, we had a fellow from Disney who was the art director, and we also had the head architect from Wilton and Beckett's, and they clashed all the time on what was proper to design. And they decided they would argue and fuss over it, and they decided to come out one at a time and deal with me on how things are supposed to be done.
Okay.
And they'd had different ideas. So I was in trouble if I followed one guy's idea, then the other guy would be on my case.
Right.
And I followed the guy from Disney because that was who we were really working for. And the architect came out, and he was so mad that he took a swing and hit me.
Oh, really?
And then he got afraid. He jumped in his car and drove away. And he called me in Ventura Freeway, somewhere out the other end of the valley, and apologized to me. But that was... I said he hit me once, he hit me twice, and been in trouble.
Wow.
But that was a good building. Although it leaked a lot in the rain, but it was good. Yeah, a nice place. We worked out of there in many years. From 1956 to we started out at my folks' home doing mosaics. Leroy put the Polynesian mask on a beautiful mosaic background.
Yeah. And
then maybe a brass rod in there to delineate the focus on the mask. So we sold those to. What would you call them? Contemporary stores, maybe? Yeah. Furniture stores, things like that. We sold that. Okay. And then we sold a mask to Builder's Emporium. We sold, 500
at a time?
Yeah,
the palm mask. They were buying that.
Oh, Builder's Emporium. I remember Builder's Emporium.
But these things we had our wives come down at night and they would be painting them. We did the whole thing with, a sander and a bandsaw, quick. And throw a nail in the back and dip in the stain tank. And
we also did a Baker Pool Company was another one that we dealt with. And they kind of you put a swimming pool in, and then they would have this package that come along with it to hang fishnet and a mask and some other things, starfish on the wall. And so we were part of that.
Okay.
And we had some collection of money problems with those guys. But
Right.
We had a big old 50-gallon drum of stain, which we learned how to make it from Eli Headley, Bamboo Ben's grandpa.
Yes.
And that's how you dip these masks in there and throw them into another thing that drained and dried. It was just a mass production deal,
Did you do a lot of work with Eli Headley?
He did quite a few jobs, whether the one in outside of Reno, what is it? Can't even think of it. But he did quite a few. One back in Nash.
The Sparks.
Yeah. So what is that, like Trader Dick's? Or
Trader Dick's.
Trader Dick's, yeah.
And we sold the materials and all that to him. And then the Nashville, the Malahini, was it, or something like that?
And that went in Tennessee, or
Nashville, Tennessee. Did a job there for it.
We were involved with one in Palm Springs. That was we went out to see him working on the decorations and stuff. He ran out of money, so he had to have fishnet on the walls, and he decided he didn't have enough money to buy the fishnet, so he hung up the fishnet and pinned it, and he spray paint. And get the fishnet look. Yeah. They move the fishnet around the walls.
And use it as a stencil. That's creative.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, he really was. And Vince Buono worked with him also. And Vince and Eli, under Carter's job, did the big tikis that used to be the Stardust, and those, the Feather Rock tikis.
Yeah.
And so they
one of those is still alive. It's at a park. Yeah, I think it's called Sunset Park.
He had pictures of it. Yeah.
It's on a little island in the middle of a lake. What would you say is the most memorable?
I think the one in Cucamonga is the
Kapu Kai.
Yeah, the one that got damaged in the flood.
Was kind of an interesting. Partly, I did a lot of carving. We had one of those years with a lot of rain, we had a shed outdoors, and I would be carving, and I'd be up on pallets, so I wouldn't get electrocuted.
See, over San Diego is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
too.
see the world, yeah.
We used to leave here about 5 o'clock in the morning, get down there, and then we had Eddie stay down there for.
That was their Hawaiian Punch Village area.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of signs for other projects.
Eddie Crispin and my Uncle Uncle both stayed down there together, and Eddie had a chance to experience real Filipino food. He was not too happy.
He didn't like it, huh?
They had some things that they don't even sell in the restaurants that
Right.
Milo and another friend cooked up down there. And he said he'd almost throw up. It was just the odor of cooking.
That's funny. I wonder if they purposely, if Guanco purposely gave him or fed him something weird,
might be
just to like mess around with him,
Yeah, could have, because they all lived together in a facility down there, in a hotel or something. We had fixed up.
Right.
Mine was good. Though we had a lot of good. He'd carve down to our shop in Whittier, come down and spend the day and carve.
Do you have any original carvings by him?
No.
Okay.
No, we didn't really have tikis.
So what was he just doing stuff through you guys, or was he did a lot of stuff on his own too?
He was all around.
He did work for Sea and Jungle too.
You would go to a lot of different places like Stamp, and they had the village, the toy village, wherever they had there.
Yeah.
And his carvings were there.
Hobby City.
Yeah, Hobby City.
Those just went down just recently, a few years ago. And it wasn't that long ago. I was taking pictures of them. It was less than 10 years ago, and they looked like they were in perfect condition. I'm not sure where they ended up. I know that there was a long waiting list. Sven gave me the story once. He said that there was a long waiting list of people that wanted him.
The Royal Hawaiian and Laguna Beach, a lot of his carvings were there.
Yeah.
The entryway and so forth.
Yeah. And those were replaced because they were rotting away too.
Yeah, right. The whole place
But
was
they got
rotting.
stolen though, right?
They could have been. The whole place was rotting away with
the
the termites and so forth.
Yeah.
And
So, what would you say of all the projects that you've done? There could be more than one. What would surprise the Tiki people?
Well, they might think we're back to Disney and Epcot. We did the Canadian Pavilion, totem poles. We did the Danish village, with Danish carved post and gargoyle figures on top of their church, and so on. We did the African village. We did the French village, the Moroccan.
Yeah.
So we were in a lot of other varieties of things.
Wow. Is any of that stuff still there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then we also did a lot of Spanish Mexican restaurants.
Right.
And we did a lot of signage.
I think what surprises me most out of all that is the gargoyles.
They're cute, yeah. But like Trini Lopez, we did carved wood doors for his restaurant.
Yeah.
We did a lot of other Spanish carvings all over, like say down at the tropics. There used to be a restaurant right next door under the bridge, underneath the train. We used to find all our chair backs and all that stuff. We all carved. These right here, these were made for the cocoa palms, and since they didn't like war things, Grace Busher didn't. Leroy come up with these cockle shells like that, with a helmet.
Oh, and you
Hawaiian helmet.
You made those, okay.
And so then we carved those, and then we had a furniture company make up the chairs for us, And so, what Grace Busher had an interesting concept. She said that the problem is with most chairs that you get these big men, and they've been way too heavy, and they sit down and say, "Geez, honey, I think I'd better just have a salad, maybe." And so she said, "We made these, and you see how comfortable these are, and how much they hold. They're from the '60s. They're 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
But she said, "This is what I want. Something when the guy sits down, bring me a big steak and two Mai Tais." So that's part of the.
They don't leave.
That's funny.
It's interesting as we worked over the years with the different designers and things, who had some wanted to just to keep the customer there.
Yeah.
And there were certain concepts they had. And then there's others who wanted you to hurry up and get out of there, like fast food places.
Yeah.
And it's the way the lighting and the colors and everything else have a lot to do with it, because fast food places, they don't want you to linger around there at all. They want you to.
Yeah, they want the turnover.
Yeah.
Another job that was very interesting is that, I don't know if people think about us with it, is the old Tonga room in San Francisco. We did the original one.
Oh, did you really?
And all the tikis, a lot of tikis with torches on the top.
I don't think anybody does associate that with you guys.
The boats, everything,
Okay.
And we have all the pictures inside of the place. inside of album.
Yeah.
We show them. So we did all those. And for a while we did 5 or 6 restaurants, the tikis in Japan, all the different prefects.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did that for years.
Okay.
And always had a 20 or 40 footer backed up to our dock,
Guy Wilson did a lot of work in those.
Okay.
In fact, we have a Pelé out here that Guy Wilson worked on, and he liked the publicity, starting carver, and so we call out the Whittier paper, and he's carving this thing some more, and then we call out the LA Times, and he keeps carving this thing, and we got it in here now. It doesn't look very much like a Pelé.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
He just kept carving every time.
Yeah.
And,
Haley is supposed to be a female, and the original things that you see, she's got a gross-looking figure.
Right.
He tried to make this thing look with breast and sort of feminine features and things, but
that reminds me of the old Bob Crow's place down there in what do they call that thing down there at Long Beach by the Circle.
And Mr. C's.
Yeah, Mr. C's.
Mr. C's,
And what was funny about that is we had just come back from the Guinea, a lot of the primitive arts, little figures, things like that. And so they said, well, they want to put those behind each, what do they call them, where they settee, like the area, very plush. And so we sold them to him, and he put them all behind the walls, And it wasn't, I don't know, maybe 2 months, and he decided, you guys buy those back from me? And he says, all the kids are lifting up and seeing the phalluses on them.
Well, what's funny is Guy Wilson asked me one time if you guys were carving the Cook Islands tikis with the penis on it.
Yeah, we are. We just have them for sale.
Yeah, and he said yeah, Bob used to call it tallywhacker, and he would say to me, no tallywhacker. Yeah. So he would carve them without a penis. But I guess that that was when initially they were trying to have them be politically correct or whatever you want to call it, and then they started eventually embracing the traditional style, which was to have the penis intact.
Like that guy there, there's a figure, plus we made lamps out of that one,
Right.
If there's one outside here, you'll see that.
Well, the other guy behind the Cook Island,
Yeah.
the big one.
Yeah, the big one with the hat on top. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought that was interesting that, I don't know if that's if that was a morality thing with the times.
Well, there probably is. For instance, you couldn't do that with things that went to Disney.
Right.
And we had a female figure in her that was made in Tahiti.
Right.
She was anatomically correct. She just a little bit bigger than life size, but she was bare-breasted.
Right.
And perfect. And you almost think it was a real person when you walked by her.
Oh, okay.
But they wanted it, but then they had a problem about that breast, so they decided not to take it.
That we have a figure that Leroy's carved a nice one behind the waterfall right now, but it's a Marquesian Tahitian figure,
Mm-hmm.
And it had a phallus on it.
Right.
And so I guess maybe we had one before that way, but so Eddie carved it, from where it should be, clear down to the bottom, call it a tripodial base.
Tripodial base.
Great big thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Did you carve there's at the Bali High in San Diego, did you do any work for that?
Well, we have, but what is there is, I think, what's the guy up north of Sausalito?
Barney West.
Barney West, yeah.
Yes, most of it is that, and some things that Carter brought in from Samoa. He used to have carvings done in Samoa.
Okay.
And some of it was stolen, so I don't know what's left.
Well, there used to be tikis scattered around the property, and maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, I remember walking out to the boat dock, and they used to have these Marquesan tikis on each side of the gate. But they were kind of weird looking, and the story that I got was that they were shipped down in pieces because it was easier to ship it that way, or it was cheaper, or something to that effect. And when they arrived, the person who assembled them the wrong way. So you have the teeth above the eyes, and you have you know what I'm saying? Then the body above the teeth, and it was all assembled the wrong way because they didn't know any better. I was curious if that was you guys that shipped them that way.
No.
Yeah, we sold Tom Ham, who first owned it, original owner, and sold him a lot of materials, basic materials. Then recently, in fact, I got a picture in one of our albums here, the whole family, the 2 boys and and the lady who's Tom Ham's wife, was
her daughter,
and then her new husband. Yeah.
Okay.
And they were here the day that they had a huge storm, and this roof doesn't make as much noise. We used to be in a tin building, and galvanized. That really made the noise on a hard rain.
Yeah.
This comes down pretty hard, and they were saying, "Gee, I hope our dock's okay." by the time they got back there, the dock had been torn out by the waves down there.
Oh, yeah.
So they did lose it.
Yeah, there's a lot of tikis in there, a lot of Marquesan tikis in there that look very much like your style.
Well,
so.
there's Carter brought those things in a lot of them. When we worked with Bob Carter at the beginning, we would fix some of them up. They were kind of rough spots on them and dings and things, and we would sand and carve an eyeball or something on it.
Yeah.
So some of those went, and some ended up in Disney, somewhere, and they were all hardwood. And I think there's one the last time I remember up in Idaho that's sitting up in somebody's front of their home. It's one of his carvings, but they were made out of really nice wood. But sometimes they were a little bit strange when especially the Cook Island things, they looked like they had glasses and funny looking ears on them, round knobs or something.
Right. So where have you guys actually been in the South Pacific? I know that you've been to Papua New Guinea. Have you been to Easter Island?
No, we started out actually in Hawaii.
Okay.
Catalina first,
okay.
and then Hawaii, and then we went on to let's see here.
We went to Tahiti.
Yeah, to Tahiti, and we were on the first planes to leave the new Fa'a airport there. And we sat all day waiting for the plane to come in. And on the way to Fiji, about 2 o'clock in the morning, they had a fire on the port engine, left side of the engine burned out. They hit the JETO tubes to put it out right away.
Okay.
So we got into Fiji, went and flew into Viti Levu, Fiji, and landed. So we did make it that way.
It was not, Nandi, the airport at Nandi.
Yeah, Nandi Airport. Yeah. So we drove had to go to the car and had them haul us over there, all the way over to Suva. And so then from there we went into New Caledonia, and then over to Fiji, wasn't it?
No, I think we went to New Caledonia first.
Well, that was
Fiji first, then New Caledonia,
yeah.
and then to
Australia,
Sydney,
and then back across the continent to Darwin, Australia, and then we flew back to Mount Isa, and then over to Brisbane, and then into Guinea from one end to the other end.
So when you guys were doing this trip, was this originally was it the intention to research Polynesian art and to go into business? So it wasn't a pleasure trip. This was actually...
It was a business trip. We were already in business doing. We had been working hard, but we decided we were young guys. Even though we were in our 20s, people sort of considered us just young kids, punks, didn't know nothing, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So we kind of made ourselves more authentic and have a little more knowledge than the average. By taking that trip, we could talk about some of the things in the Pacific and with some authority.
Did the people there, like all the locals that you went and visited, were they hesitant to share any of their traditions and their art? Were they open to you guys? Did they know that you were going to be reproducing them for a business?
I don't think that anybody would even care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, there's no, like in New Guinea or even Tahiti, they don't care. They just want to sell you their stuff.
Yeah.
And so that, we found a policeman over there in Papeete that did carving. In fact, he carved the drum that was out front here.
Okay.
And but I don't think anybody really questioned it.
No.
Although we had a letter from the LA Museum.
Yeah, LA County
for collecting.
And Dr. Harris
that saw that said, "Well, these guys are really serious," Yeah. And we went flew in, got a little, found a Catholic mission there that had a guy that flew a Cessna something, 170 or something, and flew us way back. And we have pictures on our slides that that they come down to the house taverns and the natives ran out of there thinking we're going to crash.
Yeah.
And so there's a Bruce Laws there that had been collecting, and so we talked to him for a while, and then we met. Was it Moprik or something like that? And we were out there, and all of a sudden, the guy comes all dressed in white right out of the jungle, because they just clear a spot for the planes to land, and then that's it, the small planes. And it turned out this guy was in charge of the raw material processing, and there's a company that was, his idea was to get all the primitive arts out he could, museum pieces, everything.
Right.
So we bought from him for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And that was a deal. We started out with Carter on that, and he helped finance that part.
So when you guys first started, and you were buying this stuff from them, you were selling a lot of authentic.
Oh yeah,
art.
Very thanks.
The Maikai's got a lot of our stuff, even a human skull with a spear through it.
So you know what? That's the thing is, people always say that there's a shrunken head in one of their cabinets, and people say that that's real. But you're saying that it's a skull with an arrow through it.
Yeah, it came in out of New Guinea.
Wow.
If we We had a fellow in New Guinea that was in the gold business because they were a lot of mining.
Yeah.
And he also arranged things for us. And he sent stuff to us under his concept. We didn't even realize, or we didn't ask for it. But he was duty free, and he was sending it to Dr. Schmaltz and Dr. Van Oosting.
Yeah.
On Her Majesty's service.
Her Majesty's service.
I have a paper envelopes in there of it. That was Bololo Dredging, the gold mine and dredging company.
And so we got things in that the customs didn't really inspect that well. And
so he sent it to you under the label of doctor, so that it would.
So these skulls
customs.
And things.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And we have bird of paradise plumes. And,
by the way, if we ever do a book, we ought to put some of those letters on there.
Is there a plan to do a book?
Huh?
We've been trying to.
Yeah, it's just we never have time to do it. We talked to Holden and then Carrie Handler, but they're busy too. And they said they would help us, but I started going back to write a few things, and that's about all we've done.
Yeah. Wow, that makes me excited.
I've got an index all done, ready for what we do, subjects I would touch on them, but never have time. I'm so busy that right now working on quotations.
Oh, you've got probably the most extensive historical collection of that kind of documentation. With the whole Polynesian Pop era, with all the stuff that influenced the tiki world today. So that would be really cool to see in a book. Oh man, you guys gotta make that happen.
Yeah, the thing is, when do you get time to do it,
Yeah, I know.
It seems like working 6 days a week now,
Yeah.
And loving it, but it's just, there's no time,
We gotta do what you're doing right now over and over again with somebody.
Yeah.
Taking the notes and things down.
Should get like a good recorder, and then Leroy and I can, kick around in here. We talk about different things. Oh, remember that time, the crocodile almost chased Leroy, things like that.
And
did a crocodile almost chase you?
Oh yeah, in Darwin.
Oh really?
Yeah, there's a lake that was about an acre in size, and Bob and I kind of wandered around the lake. Well, there was these little boys swimming in the thing. They're all naked, and we ended up swimming in the pond with them.
Yeah.
But there were fish and never bite you.
Yeah.
But we didn't think much about them. But they boys said something about there was crocodiles around, and of course there was nothing but swamps and jungle around. So why not? And but we never bothered. But I got up one morning and I was walking around the lake. I was at the other end of it, and all of a sudden the bushes shook and everything, and this big giant lizard moved out across the pathway.
Yeah.
And I scared it. But it was 6 or 8 feet long.
Wow.
And it ran like a fence lizard. I mean, there was nothing slowing it down.
Wow.
And I just froze. I don't know what, I wouldn't have any idea what to do.
Right.
And because I didn't even know how to run that fast. And there was all the trees were the only thing were the mangrove swamp trees.
Yeah.
Which are spindly little bushes that you climb it and they just bend back down to the ground. So I very fortunate it decided to go the direction.
First of all, too, in that little pond there, that Leroy was down there and saw him down there, I think maybe sketching or something. So I said, hey, let's go back there. And we brought our trunks, and I took photographs. I got a few photographs in the front. They're all skinny dipping, like we used to do in the rivers here back in the 40s, And so it was it's kind of fun. So they were in there swimming, and Leroy and I got our trunks on and went in. And we're swimming across her, just kind of talking back and forth. And all of a sudden, you felt something on your butt. These kids had planned it. They come in there and like
that's funny.
And they yelled, crocodile, crocodile.
Oh, that's funny.
And Leroy and I beat the heck out of their swimming faster than they were to the shore. Because we didn't know, because they're supposed to be, and then they'd seen that one.
Oh, that's funny.
So it was quite a time,
We were there during Guy Fawkes Days, which is their Halloween time.
Uh-huh.
And these kids had dynamite to blow up things. And I showed them, they have trash cans and different things that put the bombs underneath and shoot them in the sky. So they had a lot of fun doing that. And we talked to her for America. We weren't too sure about that. It was from California. We weren't too sure about that. And then we mentioned the Hollywood. Oh, we know all about Hollywood.
Yeah, that's funny. I was in the Cook Islands just this past September. We went on a boat ride across Aitutaki Lagoon. There was a little girl that was like the daughter of one of the boat operators, and she was born and grew up on this island, This island has a population of like 1,200 people. It's a very small island, and it's one of the outer islands off of Rarotonga. So, I mean, she's not very cultured. And my wife was playing with her on one of the beaches that we stopped at, and she said, "Are you ever going to come to California? If you come to California, I'll take you to Disneyland." And she had no idea what my wife was talking about. Yeah.
I went there myself, and a college buddy went to Samoa, Western Samoa, or the old Samoa, and then outside to I keep thinking of Hawaii, but they call it Savaii is the bigger island of the Samoa there, and so we went out to that too, and got a biologist, and talking to him, we hired him to take us around, and it turns out that they have a big, huge mound, and there's a question on it, and that what was so the Samoan people said, well, they flew birds off there, you know.
Yeah.
And this biologist, said that he got together with Kontiki guy, you know,
Heyerdahl?
Yeah, Tor Heyerdahl. He got together with him, and when they were going to come, Tor was going to come back, and they were going to drill into that thing and find out the history, what was really there. And it turned out Tor died just before that. But it was very interesting.
Oh, wow.
We went from the Apia, flew a smaller plane over to the Savaii.
Yeah.
And then went on to the Cook Islands, and got in about 2 o'clock in the morning, which you guys probably did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And there's a guy playing the guitar out there that has done it.
That guy is still playing.
Is he?
As a matter of fact, he was at we rented a little condo at this little complex, right? We did it through Vacation Rentals by Owner. And he played one night at the bar, and the bar owner stopped and introduced him to everybody. And he said, "This man has been playing at the airport for like 50 years. Every day he plays for every arrival and every departure."
Wow.
And and then we remember, oh yeah, he was the guy that was playing when we walked through the gates. And then when we were leaving there, he was again. You know, yeah, so it's probably the same guy.
And so I'm sure it is, you know, but we had a great time there. And I went with this guy. He's got bucks, and so we stayed. We flew in. We got a limo to pick him up in Covina, and me at my house. Went out to the airport and flew New Zealand Airways.
Yeah.
And so before you even take off, you got a bottle of champagne on your ice bucket next to you.
Yeah.
It's all complimentary, you know, and the best of steaks and that type of thing. And so we lived pretty good. But we stayed at this Rarotonga Bungalows, and that's what Tom Farron owns that with his Chinese wife, and that's on Rarotonga. And he was the son of not Tom Farron, Ed Farron, I think it was, who ran the Intercontinental Tahara in Tahiti. And so we had a really good time. We had, upstairs he had they have just 5 bungalows, huts, and they're kind of like an outdoor shower type thing. It was very, very nice. And we had a great time with him alone. You know, I could live there in Rarotonga. And then we went on.
Yeah, I can too. Yeah, it's really great.
And then we went on to Aitutaki, you know, and again, it's a terribly expensive place. I don't know, it was like $500 a day. And,
yeah.
You know, and he had the money. And what happened is he got, the flight was paid for by American Express dollars, you know, that he had done in business, you know, phone.
Well, that's nice.
So it was we had a good time there, but I really enjoyed Rarotonga.
I think, I've been to Aitutaki twice. I've been to Rarotonga 3 times.
Why?
Because I love it.
Yeah.
So Rarotonga is great. Aitutaki is beautiful. That's why we go. We go to Aitutaki for the lagoon and to look at the giant clams in the underwater.
Oh, they're right over by the bridge there. They got giant clams down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about Aitutaki is it's a little bit too slow for me. Rarotonga is only 1/5 the size of Kauai, but it still feels very much like a metropolitan island. You know, that's where the international flights come in and out. And I don't think I would get bored in Rarotonga, but so you get, I think, the best of both worlds. I think you get, the metropolitan community, and then you also get the island lifestyle.
Yeah, I told people I could live there.
Yeah.
And of course, knowing Tom, but again, the bad problem is that if you have any medical problems like he's had, then you got to fly back to Tahiti or LA, better yet.
Yeah, they have a small hospital there, but if you have a major medical issue,
you can go fly to New Zealand, an hour and a half or so, but that'd be the other alternative.
Yeah, it's closer than flying to LA, but it's still a 3.5 hour flight.
Yeah.
from Ronald.
If you had heart problems, you might say adios.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to stay respectful of your time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here in a few minutes, but I want to ask one more question that I think everybody wants to know. So before we wrap up, what I want to ask you is, do either of you have tiki spaces in your own home?
Yeah, I have Eddie's original tikis, like the one at Disneyland.
Okay.
And I have his original in the backyard. And then I have some thatch, and I have a palapa in the backyard.
Okay.
On the patio. And then inside I've got some wallabies that are carved, I think, what was that island just before New Guinea, that's out there? Trobian Island. Trobian Island things. And I have in the hallway one of these panels we have that you'd love it. We haven't carved it for years, so it's all carved marcation type things, marcation figures. And that's the extent of it,
Yeah.
And of course I have a bar in the back that knows how to make pretty good drinks,
Yeah.
Been making the Menehune juice recently.
Okay.
And then the Navy grog with Trader Vic's. I said, you can't buy that. Their concentrated grog mix, you can't buy in the stores. So I'll take care of you. And she sent me 2 bottles of it.
Oh, that's great.
Trader Vic's granddaughter, Eve.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she came down here and visited one day. And
yeah.
So then we were up there on their 80th anniversary. And then the same summer over to Disney's 60th anniversary. Invited us there. So.
Okay. What about you, Leroy? Do you have any tiki spaces?
I do not have a particular designated area. However, my house is carved a lot.
Okay.
My moldings on the fascia boards of entryway of my porch, and it's not all real Polynesian per se, but people come in and they say, "Well, it's not like you're a Polynesian guy." I look whatever they think this stuff looks like. And then I do have collected items and things, and
Sure.
I do have mugs and stuff, but they're all more in boxes, not being displayed to particularly anyway.
You know what? To be honest with you, I am surprised because I would have expected you guys to say, "No, I get enough tiki at work." The tiki tea guys are like that because they say, "Oh, I get enough tiki at work." Neither of them have any tiki anything in their homes.
Yeah, we have. I don't think we'd never get tired of it.
Yeah,
never do.
Yeah, you guys seem to have probably the best private collection, and you don't amass this kind of stuff without really enjoying it or appreciating it.
We were going to turn this into a Polynesian place with, the full bore,
Yeah.
pufferfish nights, all kinds of things, but it just never happened,
Yeah.
Got too busy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, being busy is good, right?
No.
The
The problem with being busy is and some people chide me about this, that when you sell something, you have to replace it. It's getting harder and harder to replace.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
And the girls don't understand. I said, don't sell that. We like, we like it sitting there for nothing.
Yeah.
We don't need the money, so just let it sit there.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a fun thing. So
Yeah.
we put up a website, and I figured it's going to be too much, and it's awful. You get so much business from it,
Yeah.
And it's not even done yet,
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever looked at it or not, but
I have looked at it.
it has pretty much the history of Oceanic Arts in there, at least for our trip primarily. But yeah, we got to finish that up.
So what's the future of Oceanic Arts, having said that?
Well, somewhere along the line, we're going to have to say we have to give up. We're not getting any younger. However, we're hanging on as long as we can.
No plans on passing it on to the kids to continue the
None
legacy?
of them would be. He has 2 daughters that have their lives pretty well organized, and I have 3 sons. I actually have 6 children. All of them, their lives are pretty well occupied. 2 of their ministers, 2 sons that are ministers.
Youth pastors, that type of thing. Also.
Okay.
And others are medical field.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Does he view this stuff as like paganistic?
No, not.
No? Okay.
They've all worked here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And see, we have people I've been to that thing before, the that youth in conflict. I took my daughter to in Long Beach, and they say anything you got at home, like masks or anything, throw them in the fireplace and burn them. Don't keep any of it. There's a lot of people look at it that way. We don't look at a tiki as being a sexual thing or the god of love or the god of money. There's a deal. This KC company that sells out of Hawaii, and they got all these little miniature things.
Right.
I think we got some little shot glasses out of everything. Well, we don't believe that. We try to stick with originals. Although they probably were involved in religious rituals, but we just look at a piece of art.
Yeah, I believe that was created to sell to tourists. The god of money and the god of love and the god of fortune and the god of whatever.
Let me tell you a story about the carver again. When he was in Samoa, he was developing the people to carve the tikis that came here that we were talking about earlier. And the missionaries saw what he was doing, and they thought that he was going to start the religion over again.
Oh, really?
And they came as a group to kind of shut him down.
Wow.
And,
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. But I guess he explained that it was all for show and fun and so forth. And then at our shop, when we used to be on Philadelphia Street, we had tikis in front, and we had a big sign, had posted carved tikis and so forth on the sign. And I went out one day, and here's a fellow with a little tiny collar and a big flat black hat, and he says, "Thou have evil things here," and so on. And he was one of the old Quakers.
Yeah.
And he actually came from Ohio, and he came back to visit his Quaker families, and he was very offended by this.
Yeah.
So we sat down on one of the tiki logs and talked about it, and eventually he left convinced that we weren't doing something that was real wicked and evil.
Oh, that's good.
And and then I'd have another thought that you might have just for fun. You talk about things that went on and things were interesting. Well, we were doing needed a lot of tikis, big logs for doing apartment houses and things along Lakewood Boulevard and so forth. And at the time, Eddie, the carver, said, "I know where there's a lot of logs, and they're out on Arrow Highway and around the Rock Yard areas." And he said, wanted Bob and I to loan him the money to rent a truck and a tow motor or a forklift to
go pick
all the stuff. So we did, and not knowing what type of truck we did, he got a stake truck with no chains.
Oh, wow!
And he had a forklift driver go out there, and he loaded up these large palms. Are all in the neighborhood of 18 inches to 2 feet in diameter on the back of this truck, and all the way up, stacked up the ties of the racks. And as he went down left there, he went down the road, and as he gassed it, gunned the motor a little bit, the front end would lift up. And he'd go down the highway, Arrow Highway, lifting the front end up and down, up and down. And then pretty soon you hear a cracking noise.
Yeah.
One side or the other, these logs began to fall off.
Yeah.
On Arrow Highway. And anyhow, we were expecting to see this truck load of something arrive to the shop.
Mm-hmm. And
Bob had left. It was getting dusk. And then I heard this noise from a distance, scraping noise. Scrape and scrape and noise. And soon I looked down the road, and there comes this truck. And one log and the lift gate was dragging on the ground. No stakes. And it was all bowed. The back end of bowed. And this was a brand new truck, had paper license plates on it.
Wow.
So we pushed the log off, and Eddie had to take the truck back to the rental yard the next day.
Yeah.
And then when he came back and told us about it, he says, "I've never seen a grown man cry before."
That's hilarious.
So yeah, it was kind of it was a sad but funny thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's hilarious. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to let me come down and do a podcast with you. So the website is oceanicarts.net, not .com, .net. And you guys are open Monday through Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's Saturday, during the holidays we're closed Saturday. But we're here from 8 to 4 and closed 12 to 1 for lunch.
Okay. So Oceanic Arts in Whittier, California. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Leroy. And aloha.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Listeners, if you have any show ideas, have a guest suggestion, or would just like to make a comment, please visit our Desert Oasis Room group page on Facebook or follow us at Polynesian Pop on Instagram.